Hey, fellow traveler. Welcome to the Third Eye Awakening podcast, a show where we talk all about spiritual and psychic awakening, magic, the shift from 3D to 5D, star seeds, ascension, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, the universe, the multiverse, the Akashic records, all the good things. I am your host, Amy Belair, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Okay, let's do this. Hey, beautiful souls. Before we get into this episode, I just finished recording it, and I also realized that I totally forgot to mention something that I have coming up, and it's important in a timely fashion. So I am hosting a virtual priestess retreat on the weekend, next weekend, basically on the weekend of April 15th and 16th. And I'm so excited about this. So I'm inviting you to join if it calls to you. Obviously, it's like per the name, it's for the priestesses. It's for my sacred sisters that know that you carry the priestess archetype and you're here to do this work. You're here to journey with me. As I said you'll hear at the very end of the episode, like I just actually connected with New Earth, with Tara, and I know that is so much of what we're here to do. So the priestess retreat, oh my gosh, first it was just going to be about dealing with the dark energies that I feel coming and just giving you a lot of support in that. And it's an opportunity for us to connect and talk to each other and for me to go into your Akashic records and pull out information and get clarity about things in your soul mission, stuff that you need to know. It's just it's like slumber party vibes, except that William does not sleep through the night, so it's not a slumber party. It's daytime hours only. But that's kind of the feeling. It's I just want to be with you, my beautiful sacred sisters, connect with you, support you, access your Akashic records, hear you, witness you, hear the things that are coming up and talk to you about the energetics and the interplay that I have been getting information around about sort of the high level, transmutational dance between the darkness and the light that we are being called to do. I talked about it I think it was in February, I did a masterclass called Priestess of the Void, Priestess of the Light. It's like an extension of that. So that's what it was originally created to be. But now, because I just had that experience of actually phase shifting into New Earth, legit, I now have received so many codes about where we're going, how to get there, what we're supposed to do, how to navigate all of this from the priestess perspective. And I'm so excited to share it with you. And also in the Priestess Virtual Retreat is where I'm going to kind of share what happened with the Priestess transmissions, because I also announced back in, I think again it was in February or maybe early March, that I am no longer affiliated with Amron or the Priestess Transmissions book, or any of the stuff that we did together. And it's been a journey. It was a big initiation portal for me, a big lesson. And there are some things that I integrated through that experience that I can tell are not things that I am meant to keep to myself. I'm supposed to share them so that they benefit others, so that you all can see things with greater clarity than I was able to see them at the time. But it's also important that I don't just share that carelessly to the public on the podcast, for example, because there is a level of decorum and personal integrity that is required. And I have no desire to defame anybody, Amron in particular. That's not what I'm trying to do, but I also do need to communicate with greater clarity about what happened. So the Priestess Virtual Retreat is open for enrollment, or you can get your virtual ticket. There's no enrollment part. It's just you can get your ticket and come. It is the 15th and the 16th. It is a high touch. Like, I'm just going to be with you for 2 whole days. I'm going to tell you my stuff. I'm going to channel through the messages I have to. And then the rest of the time, I'm going to hear you. I'm going to access your Akashic records. It's going to be very beautiful and very nourishing and activating for my priestess sisters. And replays are available, of course. So if you happen to be in New Zealand or Australia and you're like, I totally want to come, but the time difference makes it crazy. It's the middle of the night for me. I get it. I truly do. William is my ultimate chaperone, so I really have to work in the hours he allows me. But the replays will be available always and forever, lifetime access. And I just know, I can feel as we get closer to it that I don't know, man. I'm on fire right now. Like, the stuff that is transmitting through me, the codes, the ability to see what is coming down the line for humanity, what is coming down the line for the priestess with so much clarity, the ability to actually phase shift into a higher dimensional earth it's got me spinning. And meanwhile, like, trying to do my laundry and shit, like make dinner and keep my house clean-ish. Anyway, please consider joining me. I love you so much. I hope to see you there. And yeah, that's it. Okay, that's it. Now into the actual meat of the episode. And this episode is for everyone. Hi, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Third Eye Awakening, another solo episode. And holy shit, there's so much to cover. There's so much to talk about. Things are moving fast. And I look back at the way that I felt in the summer when I started feeling like, oh God, about 2023. And I'm like, wow, all of my impressions were totally accurate. Like, it's a banger. It's popping. It's 2020, 2021, and 2022 were just a trial run. Just a, what do you call it? What's that thing that the elites did? Like when they ran, it's like a simulated version. Kind of like that. Anyway, here we are. I know I don't need to tell all of you because you're fucking living through it. But nonetheless, I want to share an energy report with you. I'm sorry for all this like preliminary preamble. Sometimes when I listen back to my podcasts and my lives, I'm like, get to the point, Amy, but it takes a minute for me to drop in and start getting on a roll because there's so much orbiting in my crown that wants to drop through. So let's start out by talking about the energies currently. And because, unlike the energy reports that I do monthly and the energy reports that I do weekly, the energies that I'm going to talk about here are energies that are going to be sticking with us through the rest of the year. I'm not exactly sure for how long, but I know that this is going to color the bulk of our 2023 so that when we look back from the future and 2023 is in the past, these are the energies that we're going to remember. So I've spoken about in a number of places. I know I talked about on my April energy report this tidal wave that I feel, and here it is. It's here now. I feel like it's really, really going to crash next week. But it's approaching the beach, and it's a tidal wave of new awakening. And the people who are awakening are people who have never woken up before. These are people who have been like so plugged into the matrix, not questioning anything, for better or for worse. I don't want to say that they've been happy in their matrix lives because maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But they have not been questioning it, and they are waking up for the first time. I know that I am not just making this shit up because I am having these people come to me in droves right now. And not just through the podcast. In fact, there are a lot of people who are coming to me that have no idea that I talk about these kind of things. Or like in other group containers that I'm in, it's like all I'm hearing about is people are going through these like intense spiritual awakenings for the first time and psychic activations and things like that. And I'm like, yep, right on schedule, right on track. So, yeah. Sorry, I need to collect my thoughts. I have notes, but I seldom actually refer to them once I sit down and start recording. So the rest of this year is going to feel very chaotic within the collective consciousness field as more and more people wake up. And this tsunami is like one big, huge wave. But it's like, it's not an isolated incident. It's not like this one wave is going to hit the shore, so to speak, in this analogy, and then everything's just going to return to normal. There are going to be shock waves. It's going to continue all year. I would not be surprised if the Schumann resonance is just completely off the charts through the remainder of this year, and if the sun is just continuing to do completely like ridiculous, wild things. I actually think that has a lot to do with it. But it's also a what came first, chicken or the egg sort of thing. Like we could say, for example, that the solar flares are causing this awakening, but actually what I believe is that the sun is us. We are the sun. The sun is I know I might be losing some of you on this, but just stick with me. We think the sun is this like gaseous giant in the sky, this big burning ball of gas, because that's what NASA tells us. But guess what? NASA is built on Nazis, and they're a bunch of liars. I don't know what the sun is physically. I do believe that stars are burning hydrogen. I've seen the science behind it. I actually loved astronomy in university and excelled in it. So I believe that there is always truth to the lies that we are told. Otherwise, our bullshit detectors would detect it right away. So I think that there's a lot of truth. And I'm not saying that the sun is not actually a star and that stars are not burning like gases, okay? But what I'm saying is that it is more than that too. I believe the sun is the external representation of our collective oversoul consciousness. Maybe that's a good way that I can put it. And so the more that we wake up, the brighter the sun is. And the brighter the sun is, the more that we wake up, because we're not actually separate from it. It's all the same thing. And oh man, it's like real life. This is the part, this happens a lot. Like I get this far in and then I kind of lose track of my thoughts and I'm like, am I going off in too crazy of a direction? Am I losing people? Should I just start all over again? And often I do. And then you don't hear this part, but maybe this time I'm going to keep going. I am. This is me. This is how podcasts actually get recorded in Amy's world. Okay. So the rest of this year is going to feel very turbulent and chaotic at a certain level. Monumentally big changes are coming. Extremely big changes. Similar to 2020, but magnified. Changes to the financial markets, changes to there's so many big systemic changes that are coming that it is also going to result in big life changes that people are making. I feel a lot of migration coming, people moving to not only different places within the country or the continent, but different places within the world. A huge reshuffling is starting this year. And of course, it's going to go beyond 2023 because these kind of changes, they echo on for months, right? But primarily what I'm feeling coming very soon is a big change to the financial markets. And I know that you're all feeling it because I'm seeing it in your spending habits as it relates to me. I know that we are all feeling this squeeze. I know that we are all feeling like this insecurity around finances, and it's not imaginary. There is a very big change coming. I should say, I'm not watching the news at all. I'm no truth or news, no alternative news, certainly no mainstream news. So none of my predictions right now are based on any external resource. I'm not paying attention to the astrology, like none of that. None of it is coming from like analysis of other people sharing this information. It's just purely the things that I'm seeing, and it drops in the weirdest moments. For example, yesterday I had this like whole extremely clear, extremely elaborate vision of what is coming for the rest of the year while I was sitting on the couch nursing William while he was napping. Like, not meditating, not doing anything, like drinking a tea, just sitting. So it's like I can feel the information, I can feel the energy, I can translate the information, and this is what I'm seeing, and this is what we need to know. Big changes are coming. There's no sense in fighting it, because we will lose. We will lose that fight. If we want to make it a fight, we will get schooled by life, by the universe, by the hologram. This is fucking happening. And so our best guidance is to flow with it. And I know it's very hard. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have human moments where we want to fight it. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to have moments of like just feeling overwhelmed and, you know, like fear of what is this going to mean for me? What is this going to mean for my relationships? And, you know, because all of those questions are legit and they're real. And what's happening is the dream is falling apart, my friends, the dream construct. So think about reality as I've said before, it is the holographic dream projection of the great dreaming mind. So we are characters within the dream of a great dreaming mind. Just like when you're asleep and you're dreaming, the characters in your dream are like characters in the dream of your mind. It's all you. Do you know what I mean? So that's what's happening here in this layer of reality that we engage with as being reality, is that the dream constructs are falling apart. The great dreaming mind is waking up. Or you could see it as the great dreaming mind moving into a different sleep cycle where the brainwave patterns are changing. And because the brainwave patterns are changing, the dream rearranges. Okay? And meanwhile, we are all like, all of us, we think we're so fucking real. We think, like, our ego thinks that we are real, that our body is real, that our personality is real, that our job is real, that our whatever, that all of that is real. And so our ego is like, I can't just surrender to these changes because what is it going to mean for me? But just like your dream characters, when you wake up, they don't have a choice. It's that dream is over. Oh God, I don't know. Maybe I should start this again. I'm also not trying to tell you that the world is ending or life is ending or anything like that, because that is not what I see at all. I'm just trying to use analogies to help you understand what I'm seeing, because of course it doesn't translate to me as language. It's just visions and feelings and knowings. And then I have to figure out how to translate it into language so that I can communicate it, because I know that's what I'm supposed to do. So the dream construct is dissolving. And as it dissolves, so do many of the illusions that have been holding it in place. And the people who have not been awake up until now can't help but awaken. Not everybody is going to. There are still people that aren't going to awaken until, everybody's going to awaken when it's their time, but many more people are awakening because they're their asleepness was contingent on certain illusory dream constructs that are now dissolving. And it's natural that we will have moments of panic and fear and uncertainty and overwhelm and all of that as all of these changes are ushered in. And again, I'm not talking about the changes that come from the would-be narrative controllers like the WEF and, whatever, all the global players. They're always going to try and manipulate it so that it works out in their favor as much as possible. But they are not the ones ushering it in. It's just that they knew it was already going to happen. And so they've been trying to set up the game board for as long as possible to harness these energies and direct them in a way that is favorable to them. The rest of us, those of us who are not, what's the word I'm looking for? Initiated into like occult secret societies and like, knowledge of these things. The rest of us, we are just riding the waves of these changes in real time. But it gives us an advantage because the greatest thing that we can do, the guidance that is coming through as we move forward in this year, is to be deeply present and deeply centered and surrender to the powerful force of these changes without trying to attach a narrative onto it, without trying to attach the narrative of the evil WEF and Klaus Schwab and what he's trying to do, or the evil Bill Gates and what he's trying to do, but also without attaching a narrative of like, I can't move. What will that mean for my marriage? Or I can't move because what will that mean for my job? Where will my money come from? Like those things. And that's going to be harder for us because we have built so much of our identity around those ideas of like the way things have to be in order for us to be okay and for our basic needs to be taken care of. Those who have the traveler archetype, the sort of the journeyman archetype, or the sojourner, the nomad, will probably be able to deal with these changes a lot better because they've already been moving through life in a way that like they pack lightly, they are experienced travelers. They know that their identity is not in the house they're living in. It's not in the Airbnb they're staying in. It's not in the hotel room. It's not at the resort. Their identity is not on the airplane. It's not, they have cultivated that non-attachment that is being really asked of us right now. And the direction that we're moving is very, very, it's very beautiful. But for those who are not at a place where they're able to surrender to it and hear the quieter whisperings of the higher dimensional realms that are calling us forward into this ascension and expansion, those who are trying to use old ideas of how things are to resituate themselves and to anchor themselves, it's going to feel chaotic. It's going to feel very, very hard. I feel, again, a lot more death, and I feel a lot more birth. Like a lot of souls are opting out at this point. They're just like, whoa, the best thing for me to do is just, peace out from this side and go help out from the other side. And then they're just going to tag team a whole bunch of new souls coming in, just passing the baton. It's like a relay race, and they're like, all right, guys, you got this. And all these new super high frequency souls are going to come in. It's a beautiful process, but on the ground level, it's going to feel pretty chaotic. If you have already been through multiple awakenings, you're going to have a way easier time of this, way easier. But when I say that, I don't mean to imply that it's going to be easy, because if you've been through multiple awakenings, you know how to surf these tsunami-like tidal waves, and you're also like highly psychically attuned and sensitive and empathic, whether you've cultivated or not. Your empath levels are off the charts. Your sorry, I'm at a loss for words. Your filtration system. Your filtration system is kind of malfunctioning, and way more information, psychic information, is coming through. And the collective consciousness field is right now. It's gross. It's gross. Not because humans are gross. Humans are beautiful, divine, like creations of God, Goddess, Source, the oneness that is all. Humans are incredible. And there are so many dark programs that are being brought to the surface to be purged right now. It's like, honestly, it's like the collective is, I don't know, it's like they're hungover, or they have food poisoning or something, and they're just like barfing. It's just such a huge purge phase. If you've ever watched the movie Spirited Away, which if you haven't, it's a Studio Ghibli anime. It's so weird and it's so awesome. It's so good. It's on Netflix. It's just I remember watching it and being like, what is this movie? Now I understand, because I've watched other Studio Ghiblis and I'm like, oh, okay, it's just different than, the way Disney movies are structured, but it's so good. Anyway, there's this character named No Face. He's not really a creature. He's a spirit. And for whatever reason, No Face becomes weird, goes rogue, and starts eating other bathhouse staff. Anyway, I'm not going to explain the movie Spirited Away. It's too weird. But if you've seen it, I feel like what's happening for the collective is the process that happens after Sen feeds No Face the little antidote thing, and then he just starts barfing up everything that he's greedily eaten the whole time. He's just purging all this shadow. I feel like that is what is happening in the collective right now. There's so many shadow programs that are coming to the surface. Okay, so I want to tell this story about something that I experienced a long time ago, but it came back to me a few weeks back, and as a memory, and I was like, oh, right, that is what's happening. So way back in 2006, I think it was, my small, tiny little hometown got a splash pad for the kids. They had a new public pool built in the middle of town, and there was a new splash pad installed and a new park. And so they had this official opening celebration picnic barbecue for everybody in town. It was free admission, the Lions Club and the Optimist Club put it on, and whatever, everybody was invited. And I was on some kind of committee, like the Minto Cultural Roundtable or something like that. And they asked me if I would be willing to go and paint faces for the kids. And I was like, duh, yeah, I love kids and I love face paints and I love art. So for sure. And I went to the store and bought a whole bunch of face paints and brushes and practiced my face painting technique. And on the day of the picnic party, splash pad party, I set up my stuff at a picnic table and kind of just chilled out. And nobody was really interested in getting their faces painted for the whole time because they were, of course, interested in going swimming and going on the splash pad. And if you get your face painted before you do those things, probably it's going to wash off. And I had a couple really cute little kids come hang out with me that didn't want to go swimming and stuff. And I was just chilling and enjoying the sun. And a few hours in, all of a sudden, these thunder clouds rolled over and they seemed to come out of nowhere. It was very sudden. And very quickly, a downpour started with thunder and lightning. So they had to turn off the splash pad, close the pool, like shut down the barbecue, and everybody wanted to go home. And as the clouds were rolling in and the first bits of rain were happening and people were trying to usher their kids out of the park, of course, at that point, every little kid wanted to get their face painted. So all of a sudden, I went from basically doing nothing for like 3 hours, but hanging out with, a handful of really cute little kids, to having this huge long lineup of kids that expected to have their faces painted for free. And I couldn't keep up with that. Like, I couldn't beat the rain that was coming and do everybody's face. And all of a sudden, these parents just started to reach out and just take my paints and take the brushes, and the line dissolved. And all of a sudden, my picnic table that I was sitting on was surrounded by people that were grabbing and taking my things. And like, they were so rude about it and they were so entitled. Nobody said thank you. Nobody said shit to me. It's like I didn't even exist. They didn't care. It was such an interesting thing to observe, the behavior of humans who are running entitlement programs, that they just get to have something that they didn't previously value, they didn't previously care about or appreciate, but because there's a sense of urgency now, because like they're not going to get their chance to have it, all of a sudden they want it and they're going to get it, and they don't care how they're behaving or about, politeness or honoring anybody else, And that memory came back to me, as I said, a few weeks ago, and I was like, interesting, because I don't feel traumatized about it or anything like that. Like, it's just whatever. It's just one of a bajillion memories that I have because I've been alive for 4 decades. But I knew when it came back that it was my subconscious reading the energy patterns of what I feel coming and letting me know that it's about to get that way again. It's about to get that way where when this tsunami hits the beach and literally hundreds of thousands of people start awakening, people are going to want to grab on the energy of anyone who is exuding light, anyone who is making something available, and just take it. And take it in a way that is extremely selfish and rude and dishonoring and very entitled. And again, the same as when I was saying the collective field is gross, but human beings are beautiful. I want to make the distinction that I'm not saying that like human beings are assholes. I'm saying that it's the energy of the level of consciousness that is being processed as many hundreds of thousands of people awaken. And it's expressing itself through all of us. So basically, these entitled programs and victim programs are some of the shadow aspects that are coming to the surface right now. I have observed it in myself. You may have noticed that I posted quite, for me anyway, I mean, I know for some people it's probably super tame, but for me and the way I want to talk to people, I posted a bit of a spicy post in Soul Space and on Instagram talking about like, accepting our power and choosing to leave behind these programs, and talking about people being butthurt about money and things like that. And then the next day I was like, okay, I should probably clarify that I am saying this to myself because I am observing these entitlement programs coming up in me too, and victim programs coming up in me. But I can recognize them because I've been on this journey for a long time, and I've called the bluff of my own bullshit false matrix programming so many times now that I can see it and be like, this is bull, and I'm not playing into it. But that doesn't mean I recognize it immediately right away. Like, I'll be in the middle of having like an entitlement-based hissy fit, and then I'll be like, whoa, interesting. Okay. And the thing is that we need to not take it personally, that it's like some kind of criticism about us, because if we do that, then we just spiral around in shame and we don't actually move the needle. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like it's kind of like any addict's struggle to get sober. It's like if you take your own stuff too seriously and too personally, then you're trying to make amends or you're trying to do better, and then you catch yourself not in your highest expression. You catch yourself expressing these like collective implanted victim entitlement consciousness programs, and you make it mean something about you, that like somehow you're like low consciousness, or you're not evolved, or you're whatever. And then you just drop down into a frequency of shame, and then you never get past that victim program. And that's how it's by design. So the thing that we need to do is just observe in ourselves that like, oh, this entitlement frequency is coming up to the surface and doesn't mean anything about me. It's about the collective. It's a collective, like, thought-based implant that the fucking false matrix overlords put in our, like, astral field so that we don't ascend. So yeah, these entitlement programs and victim programs are ugly, and it's making the collective look and feel very ugly right now. It's not a fun place to be, frequency-wise, consciousness-wise. But we all entertain these programs. We all have places in our lives where we feel entitled to something, and where we feel like we are victims, and somebody, like, they go hand in hand. It's that feeling of like, I have been victimized. Things have been hard for me. Somebody owes me something. The government owes me money. Society should do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, somebody needs to make it easier for me to rise up. And it isn't criticism. It's a wake-up call. It's time to open our eyes and take accountability and acknowledge these programs, because they are meant to keep us cycling around in like self-imposed shit. So the ego wants to be defensive. The ego wants to take it personally and argue in favor of how hard it has been and how unfair it is. And the truth is that it is unfair. It is unfair. Like, we're waking up to a realization that we have been lied to and we have been victimized. And it was never supposed to be like this for humanity on Earth. Never. And there is a section of the great dreaming mind, the collective consciousness, that decided it wanted to take over for its own selfish reasons, its own self-preservation and its own gain. And that is what we're angry about. And we need to feel angry. We need to allow ourselves to fully acknowledge and like really, really see the extent to which we have been fucked over, and sometimes fucked over by people that we thought were on our side. You know, like I think about, like, my dad is still, he's working hard at clinging to what he considers to be pragmatic, rational beliefs, and just believing that the government is doing its best. And at this point, I don't even care anymore. But my mom is like, she's on her awakening journey where her eyes are being opened up to the level of corruption. And she's just like, how can he think that? And how can he see that? That's how I felt about him in 2020. Now I'm like, whatever, it is what it is. Because it's a journey. It's a journey for all of us. But I know why he's clinging to it. And I know on some level he knows he's choosing it. It's becoming harder and harder to choose, to believe that, these societal institutions are here for our benefit when they so clearly are not. But it's because accepting the ugly truth that we have been lied to and manipulated by sort of like institutions that have presented themselves almost as like surrogate parents it's really, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And I have so many people in my audience. Some of you probably think I'm nuts. Like, you totally believe in the narratives and you're just here for the spiritual awakening. Some of you totally know, or you see it the way I do, and you're like, oh God, no, it's all of it. It's like, it's such a lie. And spiritual awakening. But the thing is that the government, just as one example, the government and all of its branches is a patriarchal representation of the father energy. There are other patriarchal representations of the mother energy. And again, I will make the emphasis and the distinction, because I know I'm getting new listeners all the time right now, that I love men. I love the divine masculine. I'm so proud of my husband. Even though my father is asleep by choice right now, I am proud of the man that my father is. I am proud of my sons. Like, I love the masculine. And I am in no way suggesting that men are responsible for all of this. But I am saying that in order to perpetuate the level of fuckery that's happening here, they had to position certain groups of people above other groups of people. And so men have been positioned above women, and men have suffered for it, just as women have suffered for it. And I don't know, I just hate edging into this territory, but just to make another distinction so you know what I'm talking about. White-skinned people have been positioned against above dark-skinned people with more access to more resources, and it has hurt white-skinned people, as it has hurt dark-skinned people, but it has hurt us in different ways. And the same is true between men and women. It's all a divide and conquer tactic. And so when I reference patriarchy, I am just talking about the way that they have set it up so that the masculine has been positioned above the feminine, but it hurts all of us. Okay, so the governments and those kind of institutions are a patriarchal representation of the father energy. So basically what people are having to reconcile as they awaken to the level of deception and corruption and like outright like oppression, slavery, lies, whatever that we've been subject to, is it's like finding out that your father has been a narcissistic sociopath this whole fucking time and has been screwing you over so hard and abusing you, but gaslighting you. And so you haven't been able to see it because that thought is so scary. The thought that the proverbial father cannot be trusted and does not have your best interest at heart. That is a very uncomfortable truth to wake up to. It's not a truth, right? Because the government is not the father. The cosmic divine father, that father is a loving, loving father. But that's a whole other topic. I don't know. Maybe I'll get there sometime. I want to try and stay on track. So anyway, the truth is that it is unfair. And we have to recognize that. We have to fully feel all the feelings of anger and rage and fury and shock. And we have to clock how much we have been victimized, and we have to transcend the victim programs. What you've gone through and or are going through fucking sucks. Okay, my friend? Like, I see you. I am not trying to tell you that this is all an illusion and just get over it. That is not helpful and it's not honoring. And that's not what I mean at all. It was never supposed to be this way on earth. And on some level, we know it. And it makes us angry and resentful. But the more that the ego clings to that, the more real and solid and alive it is. I'm going to say that again. The more your ego clings to your victim story, the more real and solid and alive it is. Because we are the source of the creative energy that keeps it alive. And that, my friends, is how the prison bars of this prison planet are maintained. The insane irony is that they just program us to create our own prison, and then we maintain it for the rest of our lives. We could just as easily dissolve the prison bars and walk right out of the prison. But we need to understand that that is the level of power we have. And believe me, that is the level of power we have and more. Because it doesn't just stop at walking out of the prison. It then moves into creating entire realms. We are realm creators. So this prison system, this false matrix, it is being driven by a fallen dark entity construct that manipulates us and siphons off our energy so that it can stay alive on its own terms with no regard to the collateral damage being done. It is the most selfish, narcissistic, sociopathic consciousness construct you could ever imagine. That dark entity construct plants a seed of self-sabotage in the form of a belief that is inserted at the point of trauma. That belief is usually something about being worthless, unloved and unlovable, unredeemable, pathetic, shameful, etc. So, for example, my father drank and he beat me because I am worthless, unlovable, and disgusting. That is the self-sabotage seed that gets planted. It's planted at the point of trauma. So when one experiences a trauma, this dark consciousness plants a seed in that place. And you better believe that the traumas that we experience, for the most part, are orchestrated by this dark entity. And then it plants that seed of shame or, unworthiness, believing we are pathetic or unredeemable, whatever. And then, for the rest of your life, until you see it and transmute it, your whole reality organizes itself around that belief, producing patterns in relationships, in money, in creativity, in job and career, purpose, etc. You manifest situations that are the fruit of that dark belief seed that was planted. And you don't even know it because they hide that information from us. They make us think that we are just passive victim passengers in this shitty roller coaster called life, where some people just have all the luck and some people have all the pain, And that is not how it works at all. So this belief seed, this self-sabotage belief seed is most often planted in childhood. The farther back in age that the trauma occurred and the belief seed is planted, the more deeply rooted and integrated it is. And so therefore, the harder it is to see it and change it, generally speaking, okay? Some people are very gifted at seeing, and it's not even a matter of being gifted, honestly. Like, I want to be careful that I don't speak any sort of spells or prophecies of doom unintentionally over anyone. This is the way it has worked so far. And the thing is that we are more powerful than fucking any of it. So generally speaking, if you experienced a severe trauma in infancy, it makes sense, and I'm sure you can all understand how you can follow along, you can track what I'm seeing. It makes sense that it would be harder to see, like isolate and see that belief seed because you weren't conscious and it's not really accessible in your memory banks when the seed was planted. If the seed was planted when you were 14, you can probably remember the incident around it. And so that gives you some leverage. But if you were like horribly abused in infancy, please know that, oh God, I believe in you. In no way am I trying to say that you are a lost cause or you're never going to find that information or it's going to be so hard, it's going to take years and years and years. No, this is the perfect time. Everything that is happening is in support of you accessing the seed of that like self-sabotage belief program and excavating it and getting rid of it, transmuting it. You can always change it. You truly, truly, truly always can change it because you are the one with all the power. And I've also done so many Akashic readings, my friends, where people have experienced like horrendous trauma in early childhood. And a lot of the times through the records, the guidance I get is like the person doesn't have to see that again. They don't have to remember every detail of the trauma. That's not beneficial. Sometimes it is. Sometimes they actually have to be able to see it in order to make the connection. But it's not a rule. You don't have to. You don't have to go back into every crisp detail of, something horrible that you experienced. The thing that you need to get at is the seed of the belief. So the belief of being worthless, for example, or pathetic. How can you manifest anything good in your life? How can you be the creator that you truly were created to be? Like, you know what I mean? If you are operating on a deeply implanted seed that you are pathetic and worthless and unlovable, what kind of relationships can you possibly have? How much money can you hold in your field? Like, what kind of jobs are you going to attract? What kind of friendships are you going to have? They're all going to reflect that seed belief. That's the piece that you need to see and recognize. You need to know that every time you feel those things, it's a fucking lie. It's a lie. Listen to me. You are lovable. You are so worthy. There aren't even words to express your worthiness. There's nothing you can do to be unworthy. The truth is that even that fallen dark consciousness is so worthy and is so lovable. And when it returns back to the full integration and embrace with Source, which is inevitable, like, it is going to be a moment of the most ecstatic bliss that we will all feel, and it will ripple through all of us. And I don't know when that will happen, but I know that that is true. Every soul is redeemable. Every person is redeemable if they choose it. If they choose it, you have to choose it. The time has come in 2023 for us to wake up to this now, to see things for what they are, transmute our trauma, process the blockages out of our field, and to reclaim this power. Here is a harsh truth. It doesn't matter how hard it has been for you. I know and believe that for some of us, it has been hard in a way that absolutely defies words. And in no way am I saying that you are exaggerating or that your experience isn't real or valid. In no way am I saying that you have not suffered. Your experience is 100% real and it is valid as fuck. But it doesn't matter how hard it's been, because regardless, it all comes down to the same choice. Are you going to see it and do the work to get out of it? Or are you going to choose to stay in it and thus remain a prisoner of the false matrix? We are all being met with this choice now, this month, in April 2023. And these energies are going to continue through the rest of the year. So if you listen back to this, like if you find my podcast and it's like friggin' 2025 and you're listening to this episode, please don't think that this is not relevant to you because you're not hearing it in April 2023. But April is the point where like the hologram is laying the smack down. It's like, listen, wake up. You have to wake up now. You have to. And it's a choice. What are you choosing? If you are choosing to stay asleep, you are going to go back to sleep knowing that you're choosing. And so it's not even going to be a real sleep. You know what I mean? Actually, what comes to mind is, so I have this weird thing that happens when I have naps. I actually pretty much never nap unless I'm sick because it's weird. So when I nap, I naturally nap for about 15 or 20 minutes, and it's not a full immersion into sleep, but it is like I do nap. I do like drop into a different brainwave frequency. And then I naturally wake up. So it's not, I don't have an alarm set. I don't have anybody coming to wake me up or anything like that. And sometimes, I'm sure you can all relate, sometimes that I wake up and I'm like, oh, but it felt so good to be napping and like I'm so cozy here and I'm just going to lie here for a few more minutes. And then I fall asleep again. But what happens is I fall asleep really deeply. And this is when I experience sleep paralysis. And for me, it's like I drop down into this nightmarish level of the dream. But it's not nightmarish to begin with. It becomes a nightmare as I am incapable of waking myself up. So I don't know what the mechanism is. I mean, I don't know anything about like sleep physiology or anything like that. But it's like I fall asleep and I can't wake myself up. And eventually I start to realize that I can't wake myself up. And I try like calling for somebody and it doesn't work. And I try moving and it doesn't work. And sometimes the way it resolves itself is that my brain starts producing the most demented dreams. Just awful, awful, awful dreams that they're so awful that eventually it motivates me to break through whatever like force of density has been holding me asleep. It's just awful. Like, I don't know. I remember this one time I had this dream. I was literally at a circus, and circuses are so creepy in my opinion. It was like an old-timey circus, and there were these twin sisters there, and I don't remember what happened, but like something was wrong with their eyes. Like I think one of them might have like taken a dagger and just put it right through her eye while making intense eye contact with me. And then the other one's eyes sort of like started melting out of her face. And it's that kind of, but it's so vivid and it's so real. I mean, I haven't had naps in years because I don't want to experience that shit. But the other thing that happens, so that's one route that my psyche takes to wake me up. The other thing that happens is I get stuck in this dream loop where over and over again, I keep dreaming that I've woken up and I've gotten up and I've carried on with my day. And then I'm brought back to like, oh no, you're still asleep. It's really, really weird. And eventually, obviously, I've woken myself up somehow or another because here I am awake now talking to you. But that's kind of what's coming through to me right now is it's like, if you are going to choose to stay in your shit, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly. And I'm not threatening you. I'm just telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I see in the field. It's going to get so ugly that you're going to wish you had just taken this opportunity now. So please take it. Please do the work. Do the thing. Like, find those self-sabotage beliefs that were planted, those seeds, and uproot those motherfuckers. Like, get them out of your field. And also, I'm also not wanting to make you feel superstitiously afraid. Like, oh my God, there's this gross seed implant in my blah, blah, blah. And like, I got to get it out. I got to get it out. That is just more fear energy. Everything comes back to love. You transmute it through love. You connect to the love of the divine, the cosmic father, the matter mother. You connect with the mother and the father, and you are the divine child, the Trinity complete, beloved, beyond beloved, worthy beyond words. You connect to that truth over and over and over. You break your patterns, you break your habits a little bit at a time in big, bold moves, however you're guided to do in any given moment. You treat yourself with love, even if you have a shame program running that tries to tell you that you are not worthy of that love, that you've done too many things, you've fucked up too many times, you've hurt too many people, you are irredeemable. It's a lie from the devil. It is literally a lie from the devil. So, even as you hear those programs, you hear them, you observe them, and then you go look at yourself in the mirror, deeply into your own eyes, and tell yourself that you love yourself. And if you can't do that, go for a walk in nature. Have a shower. Like, do you know what I mean? Like give yourself a kindness. Just be willing to see what it is. It is choosing time, okay? And there is no getting out of it. So what are you choosing? Are you choosing love, or are you choosing these dark entitlement, victim, poverty, disempowerment consciousness programs? Okay, where am I at time-wise? I'm on track. Okay, so I also want to talk about healing our money shit. I have decided that in the next few months, I am running 2 more programs because of what I feel energy-wise. So the first one that I'm running is a new money program. It's going to be more extensive than the other ones that I've done. A bunch of you signed up for my free one that was like temporarily free. It's part of Heartstar Creator. So if you want to be in it and you want all of that goodness, then join Heartstar Creator. I'm honestly shocked that more of you aren't in Heartstar because it is the place to be if you like my energy, first of all, and if you want to liberate yourself from these false matrix constructs. And it's not just, again, it's not just about the liberation. There's a point where once we are out of the jail cell, we have dissolved the prison bars, we have liberated ourselves, then the real fun begins, because it's like, what am I creating? What can I create? So that's what Heartstar is all about. And everybody in Heartstar is automatically getting this money program. But I want to talk about healing our money shit because, like I said at the top of the episode, I feel very, very, very big financial changes coming. Is it going to be a stock market crash? I don't know. I have no idea, you guys. I don't care. I don't care about the details of how it manifests. That stuff seems pointless to me. What feels more important is tuning in to the energy that is coming and the guidance that is being presented. And the guidance is like, it's not about the money. If you've been in my programs, if you were in that free one that I did in January, the spiritual survival, slavery, spirituality, and money one, or if you've taken my program, Light Codes of Money, then you will have heard me talk about how the great illusion is that we think we're relating to money. We think it's a money issue, and it's not. Money is a symbolic representation of so many other things that are actually what we need to focus on. So, for example, money is a symbolic representation of nourishment, sustenance. It is a symbolic representation of freedom. It is a symbolic representation of space and ease. Like, those are the things you have to tap into. Money is just it's a symbol. It's a symbol for all of that. One of the ones that I've recently been playing with myself and seeing amazing results is that money is not only drawn to your power, but it is your power. Money is your power. So the more you are in your own power, the more money you have. And this is very true. You don't have to be spiritually awakened for that to be true. We can see that. Like people, the people that we love to hate, the people that we perceive as being like rich, terrible ones, like the Wall Street people, you know, Wolf of Wall Street, that kind of thing. Those people are not spiritually awakened, but they are comfortable with their power. They make a big mess out of it because they're not spiritually awakened. So I'm not advocating for, you know, being asleep and having a bunch of money and just like throwing your power everywhere and with no concern for collateral damage. Again, that's a dark consciousness program. But that's the example I'm using is like, if you are in command of your own power, if you are comfortable wielding the sword, so to speak, of your own power, you will have a lot of money because money is your power. It is an external manifestation of your own power. It is a current of your own power that exists around you and outside of you, that you direct it where you will it to go. And the guidance that I'm getting around all of this is, as I said, like whatever happens with the financial markets doesn't matter, because if we can heal our relationship with the energetics of money and the energetics of wealth and power, we'll be good. It doesn't matter if it doesn't, like the conversation around, will it be a fiat currency? Will it be a cryptocurrency? And if so, what coin will it be? Or will it be silver? Will it be gold? Will it be a seed trade economy? Will it be a skill trade economy? Will it be like some other kind of like labor trade economy? You know, like all of those things are a distraction. None of those are hitting the nail on the head. It's like we're still looking in the wrong direction. The energetics behind value exchange, wealth, like what wealth actually means, the energetics behind like resource, economy, currency, power, those are the things we need to heal. If you heal those things, it doesn't matter how many times the currency changes form from fiat to crypto, to like from one coin to another crypto coin to gold to whatever. It doesn't matter. You will be able to weather all of it, because underneath all of those are the exact same energetics, So that is what my money course is about. It's coming out in May. It is not open for enrollment yet because I'm busy doing all of the work to create it. However, I want to give you a heads up about it because one of the things that I have come to appreciate myself when other people are offering, things that I want, basically, I think that like code exchange is the real currency that we're moving into. So when somebody else is packaging up their codes that I want to receive, I'm really appreciating when they give a long heads up so that we can start to think about it and like hear about it frequently and decide, is this for me? Is this something I want to do right now? If so, like eventually I'll tell you what the price is. I don't know right now because I'm working on creating it. So I have all of that when it's created, I'll have a sense of where it needs to be valued. But when I do know, I will give you a heads up so that you can budget accordingly for it if it feels important to you right now. And I'll be talking a lot about, these wealth energetics and money energetics on my social media when I get around to posting on my social media and on the podcast, I'm sure. And the other thing that I want to talk about is that I have decided that I'm going to run. I didn't think I was ever going to do this, but yeah, I'm going to run another live round of Into the Akasha. It just feels really important to build on everything that I have already shared in that epic program. It is truly like my foundational, air quotes, signature program. My number one love is the Akashic Records. It really, really is. And that's going to run in June. So just heads up about that. Again, so that you can sort of factor that in to your decision making. I know we're a ways off, but also time is moving so freaking fast. It's insane. Before you know it, it's going to be May and the money course is going to be starting. And if you're like, but I want it all, then I will also come up with a bundle that saves you some money. And I'll say, like, if you're somebody that you're listening to this and you're like, I want it all, then join Heartstar Creator. It is everything. Granted, I don't teach you explicitly, specifically how to access the Akashic Records, but the Akashic Records are in the 11th dimension, so I am going to be talking about it, and I will teach you how to access it. It's just like, it's not the feature of the program. If you want it all, Heartstar Creator is the place to be. The price is going to go up because it is so much information that it has to go up to reflect that. So if you want to get in at the founding members price, it's still available. In my opinion, it's very, very, very accessible. But you have to decide that for yourself. It's so accessible given how much information is in there. Let me see. Hold on. I'm gonna take a minute and see if there's anything else that I want to say to all of you, my beautiful listeners. Oh yeah, how could I forget? Okay, 2 things. So number 1 is that I feel like the spiritual, I'm going to call it an industry, but it troubles me to call it an industry. But the spirituality industry, particularly the online spirituality industry, is full of shadows. It's full of shadows. I mean, everywhere in the world is, right? But this place is no different. And there are many parasitic energies in this realm, in the spiritual industry is what I mean. Many parasitic energies. And it really behooves us as we awaken or awaken to our next level to become ever more discerning about who we give our time and attention to. I touch on it in a few upcoming episodes, which at the time of me recording this have already been recorded. So that's how I know that I touched on them. But I haven't talked about it at length, and maybe I will on the podcast at some point. I mean, I know I talked about it in October, but Oh, I know that only a few people heard me at that time. I just know that people weren't ready to listen. And I hope that you're ready to listen now. You can go back and listen to the one in October. It's called The New Age False Light Deception. But it honestly, it feels to me like there are so many charlatans in this space. And please know that I am not trying to present myself as like, I'm all knowing and I am perfect and like, oh, everybody else is a charlatan, but I have integrity. But I can tell you, it is my desire and my intention to operate with transparency and integrity. And I ask you to apply your discernment to me too. And if the things that you hear coming from me do not resonate with you, then please listen to that and leave my field. And I say that with love, like not like good riddance, don't let the door hit you on the way out, like not that kind of attitude. I'm saying like, this applies to all of us in the spiritual realm. You need to apply this to me. You have to. I am applying it to myself, but you also have to do that. And just be aware, because like spiritual transformation and healing are being very commodified, and it's dicey, tricky shit to navigate because it's being commodified and cheapened. And at the same time, the true healers, the true service providers need to be honored, and there needs to be a value exchange. Because if not, it's like the story that I told at the top of my episode of my table being overrun by entitled parents and entitled children. Just like my face paints were all ruined. And yeah, they weren't expensive, whatever, it's face paints, but it's the energy behind it, you know? So we have to give an energy exchange, a value exchange that is honoring to the people who are truly showing up in integrity and doing the work that their soul brought them here to do. And we have to be aware that there are charlatans that are seeing an opportunity and capitalizing and commodifying. And some of them are doing it just for the money, and some of them are doing it for ego purposes, to feel like they are the guru, they are the healer, they are, whatever. Like, basically, they want to build an audience of people who will low-key worship them that they can siphon off of. So please just be aware of that. It's already so bad, and I just know how much worse it's going to get over the next few years. And truthfully, I have been feeling like, can I even keep doing this work anymore? And of course I am, and of course I have to. But I hope you will listen to me and hear me and hear that I'm coming from a place of love. Tune in through your heart, because your heart won't lie to you. Okay? Feel my energy through your heart. If your heart tells you that I am not for you, listen to that. Feel into other people's energy with your heart. If your heart tells you there's something off, then there is something off. If your heart tells you that you are safe with this person and this person's information is good and there are activations here for you, there's something here for you, then honor that. What was the other thing I was going to say? Damn it. Hold on. Oh my God, yeah. Guys, I went to New Earth. Last week, I was in like a healing session as part of a different container that I'm in, like a mentorship group that I'm in. And the leader had scheduled a healer to come in and do, I don't know, she called it a quantum hypnosis or whatever, but it just sounded like a guided meditation, but clearly I think it's just pretty powerful, but also maybe so am I. But anyway, I think she's very powerful. And so she guided us through this like hypnosis session. And I wasn't thinking about New Earth at all. Not at all. Actually, I was thinking about very, very 3D level problems. And anyway, she got us to go down a flight of stairs and then like pass through a door. And when I passed through the door on the other side, I was in New Earth, and I was like, oh, it's called Tara. I'm in Tara. And when I say I'm in it, I mean my body was in my chair here in this room, and I wasn't having an astral experience. My astral body didn't leave my physical body, but my consciousness phased out of here and phased into a different place. And it is Earth, but she's called Tara. And she's at a higher dimensional frequency, like a different octave on the same piano. And it was so beautiful. I could smell the air, I could feel the sun, I could hear the birds and the insects, and hear the sound of the water, hear the sound of the singing, and hear the people. I saw some of you there. Some of you that, like, I know your faces and you've been in my different things and I've interacted with you, or we've talked on social media or whatever, however we've connected. Some of you that I didn't recognize your faces, but I recognize you from my field. So I think we're probably meeting each other in the dream space or something like that. But it was really cool because honestly, prior to having that experience, when I tuned into, New Earth, I'm just going to call it Tara because that feels truer. When I tuned into Tara, it was something I saw in my mind's eye, and it still felt kind of distant. And there was a part of it that I felt a little bit skeptical about. And I wondered, like, is this just Dolores Cannon stuff? Is it actually mine? Am I actually experiencing it? Or is it like, I received the suggestion through the Dolores Cannon material that I consumed in 2017. Like, what is it? And it also felt like, is it just a vision of a utopian future? But I did believe in it. And interestingly, in my program, Deeper into the Akasha, or I guess it was a little mastermind, but it was the best. Shouts out to all of you who are in it. I fucking loved Deeper into the Akasha. It was so good. It was just so good. But we would tune in to the Akashic field together and look at, like the future highest timelines for humanity and for Earth. And that probably helped sync me up to it even more. But it was still in my mind's eye. This experience, it's like I literally phased into it, and it was a sensory experience. So now I'm so excited because what I know is it's a real place and I know how to get there. I understand it is totally a frequency ship. I also now understand what these fucking spaceships are that have been stumping me for so long, but I'll save that for another episode because I'm going long on this one. But let me tell you, we're not getting to Tara on ships. That's not what's happening. And yet I understand what the ships are. So everybody who I've done an Akashic reading for, where I've been like, I don't know, I see you on the ships, or any of you have had dreams of being on the ships, now I finally get it. Come join my Patreon and we'll fucking talk about it. But yeah, like, it's real. I'm sure as I'm saying this, there are others of you who listen and you're like, I've been there too. Because like I said, I saw a bunch of you there. And yeah, where we're going is really beautiful. So if we can also like keep our sights on that as we navigate this like period, this next chunk of chaos, it's really going to help us to remember that this is all necessary. It's all necessary. And this is also just a little celebration, but the information that I received last year felt kind of disjointed, and it was truly expansive, but there was a part of me that was frequently like, what am I even talking about? And like, this feels crazy. Like, I remember when I got the instructions before I started 12/12, where it was like, it's time to go, and the veil is thin, and like, it's permeable now. We can cross through it. We can get through the firmament. We can get to New Earth. And I understood, like, okay, we got to start doing it. We got to practice. We got to learn how to phase shift. We've got to learn how to let go of everything that we can't take with us in this phase shift to a different dimension. It's like I understood it, but not at the same time, And now I'm like, oh, I get it. All the information that I got about sorceress, the call, and sorceress, the answer. I'm like, oh, the stuff I got about the dragons and the angelics, and just, I get it now. I get it. I'm just so happy that I get it. It all clicked. Anyway, if you want to get it too, join Heartstar Creator. Stay tuned. I'm sure I'll bring through more information about it as it continues to integrate. These have been very recent experiences, but that's it. We're going to beautiful places. You have to choose. You have to decide which timeline you're on. And I want to say this too. This is my final thing, I promise. Is that as we phase in and out, like some of us are supposed to go back and forth. I know I'm one of those. I'm supposed to be a living bridge. I am supposed to go back and forth between Tara and Earth. And as I go back and forth, I take more people with me. But when I say I take you with me, I mean, we're not leaving anybody behind. They just have to do what they have to do and figure out how to phase shift for themselves. We can't actually bring anyone else. So when I say I'm going to be taking people with me, I mean, they're doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm just teaching you how to do it. I'm just showing you how. But we each are our own. We are our own ship. I don't know how else to put it. Like, we are the thing that, like, we are the force. We are the power. In all cases, we are the power that is behind our shift, that is behind our own expansion, our own ascension, our own healing. And we each carry important codes that help us to unlock the previously inaccessible things within ourselves. But like, my codes, people tell me that I activate them all the time. It's one of the most common things that people tell me is like, just listening to you is so activating, Amy. I just hold a whole bunch of codes, and my codes act like keys that unlock the things that were already inside of you. I didn't give you anything new. My codes act like keys that unlock your shit, and your shit opens up, and it was always in you, and you orchestrated your own arrival in my world. Like, you found my podcast. You found me through word of mouth. You, like, however you came to be listening to my voice, you did that. And so I am not actually taking people, like, I am the one that I'm like a tour guide. I don't know. That's not really the best way to put it. An expedition leader, maybe. Like, you are the one that is making the journey, the ascension journey. But I'm just showing you how to get there. And then you're going to show other people how to get there. And we're not leaving anybody behind. But we also cannot hasten anybody's journey. They have to get to the place on their own where they are ready to get there, where they're ready to accept their own power and, like, leave behind their own self-imposed fucking prison shackles of the false matrix, all built on shadows and lies and deceit and illusions. And they have to figure out that phase shift, but we can help them calibrate. We can shine the light of our truth so brightly that it even, like, puts it on their radar that there's a different option available, that freedom is even available. Okay, that's really, truly it. I love you so much. Let me know how this episode lands. I always love hearing from you. I know that, like, there's no way I can get back to all of you because I'm also doing so much shadow work over here. Honestly, God, I'm processing so much stuff. Like, I'm not just sitting here in my crystalline bubble where, like, life is just great on every level and I don't have any shadow shit coming up. I sure as shit have shadow stuff coming up that I am working through. And that takes up a lot of my bandwidth, plus having kids. So I know it's probably discouraging when you reach out to me and then I don't get back to you. I'm sorry, I'm just one person. However, if you want to give me a little boost as a value exchange, if you want to like give, I don't know, it's like putting a coin. It feels like I'm like one of those, I don't know, I'm not a ride. It's a weird thing to say. It's a weird analogy to come through, but like, you know, those rides when you were a kid at like the spaceship at the grocery store, and you'd be like, I want to go in it. But if you don't put the coin in, it can't keep going. Like, we do have to start really honoring and functioning off of value exchange and stop being so fucking butthurt about money. And I know some of you really can't afford to like put a coin in my meter and join even my $5 a month Patreon. It's fine, whatever. I know that we're all literally in a squeeze as money really, really transforms itself. But there are other ways of offering value exchange, and those can simply be like a message to tell me that what I'm doing is impacting you, or a review on my podcast. You know, like those little things, they really, really go a long way. I get discouraged. I am a human and I get discouraged. And those are the things that keep me going through those discouragement periods. So even though I can't write everybody back, I do read them, and they mean the world to me. They really, truly do. Okay, done for real. Love you so much. Have an amazing day or night wherever you are. And I'll catch you on the next episode.